Yeah, why domains are important. It's I always so if we can share some experience, for example, here in Tunisia, a lot of people still use Gmails, Yahoo, Outlook, and sometimes you have government officials still using Gmail, and this is actually against a lot of laws. It's not compliant, and it's very important to start if you want to digitize your company. I think the first thing you can start with, before thinking of sophisticated AI agents and information system, I think the very first steps is actually to take a domain name, to have a professional email address. Maybe you can move on and have like a file server or document management server. I think if a company that doesn't have these basics, we cannot really speak about. They're not ready to get digitized. That's why the domain name is the very first beginning, and it's also a key metric. For example, in Tunisia, we have 600,000 registered companies, and we have local domain names around 60,000. So that means 10% of them, they are using local domains. Of course, we have the international domain names. And why it's important? Because these companies, they are still working, but these companies, they are interacting with other economies. And if I share my experience, when I spent my German experience, when you sent a Gmail, you sent a professional email using a Gmail or using Outlook, so your email is not serious. It's you're not recognized as a corporate, as a company. And I'm talking about this topic because it's very important to develop the economy of the countries. And to develop the economy of the countries, you have to connect with other countries, and you have to know how the other countries interpret your first step or first move. So if you send with your Gmail address, request for a quote or like any presentation of your product, you will be treated like a spam. Whereas you really have a product and you really have something to sell. So that's why it's very important to start with the domain names. It's very it's the very first steps to get digitized. And that's why the domains are very, very important, like the very first step to digitize the economy or digitize or to adopt digital tools or digital transformation.
And then they said, can you please send newsletters to your customers? I said, I can send newsletters. And they in newsletters put their Gmail. I said, I will send this email to my customers, but please do not use Gmail because it's not solid. And what he answered, no, I would like to use Gmail. I said, no, use your private company domain. He said, no, I will use Gmail. I said, no, we will not send because click rate will be bad. And at the end, it was illegal. Can you imagine? He tried to push his illegal part of the business. He has legal business and a legal business, that the service that technically is illegal, and tried to advertise it. And she said, I'm not stupid to use my email, my company email, it's legal. So just can you imagine the difference between sometimes they just tried me, please advertise my services. For example, you're a good person, I can advertise you to my customers. And then he said, use my Gmail. But technically, these changes in email, sometimes you can, cost lots of things. And so when you have normal domain, somebody is responsible. When you have Gmail,
it's a Google email service, but it's not a Gmail. It's a Google email service, but it's not a Gmail account. Yeah. Yeah, so this is actually something that... Francesco?
I should have said, let me stand up. I remember 2017 where a big American registrar just asked Gen Z actually what a domain is, and they had no idea. So they do not want to care about that, right? I mean, I think this is something you need to incorporate into your strategy on how to sell domains, actually, and even mail services. It is the idea of Gen Z, what kind of service to expect.
This is actually, but actually, so this is far away from the very first beginning. And so that in the Gen Z, I don't know when they will be active in the market, and they will be active in the market, as we discussed yesterday, in terms of user experience. They are really accommodated to up and down scrolling. It's something, but actually we have companies here, and we are talking about the real African context. And when the African companies want to get in touch with other countries, they need at least to have like a corporate identity using a corporate domain names. That's one, and it's actually it will be a benefit for the company. They have more. They have advantage. They will master their content, where it's hosted, and a lot of things. It's not only related to the branding, so that they have full control of their brands, emails, and files, and this ideas. For the Gen Z, it's something else.
It is like, oh, if I do this is more work, and they need to take care of SEO, for example. This is a pain. We know it is a pain of taking care of SEO, right? What kind of tools and what kind of strategies can you just please SMBs, and we are all for SMBs, right? This is where the money is, right? How can we convince them to move then to a hosting environment with the proper tools, so they don't have to do everything by themselves?
From LinkedIn or Facebook, because you can sell and go.
Exactly. The Americans, they don't even know what a domain is. For what? They are selling successfully on Instagram. I mean, it has many, many benefits in doing that, for them especially.
But you cannot have a big business selling on Instagram, because at a certain point you have to pay taxes. If you don't pay taxes, you have problem with governments, and this is the last problem we want to have.
Yes, I do understand this. Yes, I do. There are many small businesses, especially one-man workshops, they don't want to go back. How to serve them?
So let's serve the one they are available, and we give them for the next priority. Give them the next priority or the second priority. Yeah.
Because you mentioned, so depending on what size the company is, for example, his tax is obviously your project varies from 200,000 to 1 million for a complex migration, right? So anyone, if you give a lead who is not with a domain name, in my previous company I worked, it was a software development company, which we also did. It's called SoftServe. So we also did migrations. It's complex, very complex, for banks, financial. So our form on the website did not even allow anyone to do any request or inquiry if you don't have an official company name, right? But I'll give you the other perspective. For example, Cloud Linux. I work for Cloud Linux now. Small businesses, right? We have big clients, we have small clients. We have people who need 2 licenses, 200, 2,000. It varies. Most of them need 2 or 3 because they're like small resellers, agencies who have 1,000 websites tops. We had situations, we didn't block the form on our website to have a domain. So we allow Gmails, Yahoos, we allow everything because we have situations where sysadmins from a buyer's persona are more technical people, you know? They don't want to engage a conversation with a sales guy. What they do is they'll just start the free trial on their own. They start the testing, they dig deeper, they test it out, and then eventually they buy on their own, right? So we had situations where a Gmail, every lead that is coming in my pipeline, I contact in an automated sequence most of the times, because I had situations where Anthony.Joshua247@gmail.com, right? It's actually Anthony from this very decent sized hosting company that needs licenses, you know? So I put him in a sequence, we engage in some conversation, and then he comes back and buys 200 licenses. Because he was just a sysadmin, he's a technical person. He's not an extrovert like me. I want to meet everyone, but he doesn't want to talk to the sales guys. He wants to do the thorough testing. So depending on what your vertical and what your business is, it varies. But first thing I ask Cloud Linux, why do you allow Gmail accounts? because I was on the interview 8 months ago. I was like, I would never allow my business to receive inquiries from a business that doesn't have a domain name. But in our reality, the technical people create multiple accounts, multiple tests, and at some point they come for a discount. So I understand, okay, this is actually a huge company. So it's a gray area in our side of business. Yours, I completely understand. I would never. I just wanted to create this scenario because it is an actual scenario, especially for technology, like more complex companies. They just do their own tests, and I do understand. Me, I'll just ask, how is this done? But yeah, thank you.
Okay. We are talking about SMBs, but we are not talking about government official in Africa. I'm used to work for some companies as a private service supplier, and in their policies of these big companies, they don't accept any mail from anyone who has something in yahoo.com, .fr, Gmail, and so on. But the problem is that official, which is the final customer, all are sending their email from their Gmail. Why? Because the platform are aging, are 20 years old, are not supporting files exceeding 1.5 megabytes as attachment, and instead of they are protecting such strategic information, they are using their information in Gmail, and even big companies are obliged to work with this way, are obliged on the other side to communicate with their Gmail, because the official Gmail of the company, the big company, don't accept any email coming from any email coming from Gmail,
because Gmail has better functionality. Because you can send a bigger file with Gmail.
No, but even
in terms of domain reputation, so that your email deliverability, so you need to configure all the DNS records so that you can look at the email they go through. And if we don't maintain the systems, but that's normal that they don't, the email they're not received. So email business itself, it's very crucial business. It requires a lot of a day-to-day monitoring, and you can, if you there are companies, if one of your emails lands in spam, they kick you out from the service, just because you can impact all the IPs, all the IP range, and then you are out of the business. But emails and domain names I still think. So we are talking about the gray. If we are talking about the gray, there is also the dark zone. And in the dark zone, there is other types. Yeah. But if we talk about companies with legal entities, and I think it's still recommended to have a domain name. Yeah, and to address people, because it's like you present yourself. Yeah.
It also depends on the industry that you work. For instance, for cryptocurrency, then the data center, maybe for house providers, and on the cryptocurrency, you can see that a lot of people use GL, especially ones. So it's more enterprise. But when you go to data centers in Europe, UAE, you can see that all these companies, they're using corporate emails. For example, they're using email. And you can see that it's harder to make this plan because you don't see that.
Yeah, it's about how serious the person is, and sometimes it's the part of the purpose that they are not very serious. You can track them, especially So. Okay. I think we are ready for lunch. And you see, so we have like 20 minutes delay for the lunch. So that means, so we started 1 hour later. And we have we are 20 minutes late. So we have lunch now. The lunch is sponsored by it.com. So we welcome. Yeah, when it's about lunch, so applause is really strong. Yeah, so feel free, you have lunch and we see each other in 90 minutes. But yeah, not Tunisian 90 minutes. 90 minutes. Yeah, because now we need to stick to the plan. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye. I'll see you later.